Friends and family, it's that time again. It's time for the First and Long College Football Show. We welcome you back here to our channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, all of you who have subscribed this week. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe and come hang out with us. We're talking college football multiple times a week here. And today's topic for the show, this is Between the Lines. This is First and Long's college football betting show. Okay. It's a mouthful, but I have to tell you about it because this is one of my favorite shows that we do here. And this show is all about making money. And usually we have a big board to scatter our picks on. And this week there's only a few games. It's conference championship Saturday. It's time to settle it. Who's going to the playoff? Mason, how you doing, buddy? Are you ready to lock some slim pickings up?
I'm doing good, man. I'm sitting at 12 under on the year, so I just
You
need
got
to, I
12
just need to
picks.
hit I just need to hit on all 13 of these, and I'll be positive.
Yeah, well, easier said than done in the betting world, and we've had some great weeks, and we've had some not so great weeks. We've even had I've had an undefeated week. I haven't had a week where I haven't had a win, so I'm not going to talk too much more about possible
Knock on wood.
outcomes. Um, yeah, no kidding. And we've got a comment on here. Hey, that's Mr. Chris. Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy? Thank you so much for tuning in to the First and Long College Football Show. And any of you who are watching or watch this later, please leave us your comments. Tell us what your score predictions are for this game and how you see some of these games coming out. We're going to just go through the big games today, as we've already broke all these down. So if you want to go check out the more in-depth breakdowns, we have those done. And on our weekly college football predictions playlist, and you can go check that out. Been a big response to those, and we certainly appreciate everybody tuning into those and commenting. There is literally thousands of conversations going on in those comment sections. You can get lost over there. So hope that everybody enjoys that, as it looks like they have. Let's jump into some of these games, and let's just kind of give our last final thoughts on this thing and talk about how we feel about these outcomes and how we feel like these games are going to go. And we'll give you our best bets against the spread. Saturday at 12 o'clock on ABC, we've got the Big 12 championship. Oklahoma State versus Texas. Texas is a 14-point favorite. Over under set at 55 for this one. Are all those numbers still hanging in there? Because some of these numbers are a little bit older. 15. It's now at 15. So let's fix that real quick. And Mason, what are your thoughts on this game? And do you have any plays for the Big 12 championship?
Yeah, I still feel about the same way that I felt when we talked on Monday about this game. Nothing's really changed for me. For me, it's going to come down to the Oklahoma State defense, which has been pretty much non-existent, and their ability to stop Texas. I do think they'll get a couple of stops. Texas has been known to sort of play with its food, but to me, the play of the week on this one is going to be under 55. The under for Texas has hit in 8 games this year, and historically, the under in the Big 12 championship game has been a play for sure. Going back to our preview on Monday, I think that Texas is going to be able to slow the rushing attack down of Ollie Gordon. They've done a really good job of stopping the run this year. And I don't think that Bowman's going to be able to win the matchup over the top. I don't think he has the dudes on the outside, and I don't think he's a dude, calling the plays there or getting the ball there. So I do worry about this play because I think that Texas, going into the final CFP rankings, they do kind of need those style points. So I'm worried a little bit that they run the score up. But like I said, I think early on, this is going to be a ball game. I think, and you can go back to that Iowa State game just a couple weeks ago with Texas and how slow they started. And then they kind of poured it on late and looked like the team that we know that they are. And I think you see a similar thing here. I think it's going to be a ball game for about 3 quarters. Then you'll see Texas really pull away. And my score prediction is 35-14 in this game. But I think Texas wins decidedly, but it'll be sort of a late finish for them.
Okay. All right. and I think that is obviously a possible outcome for this game. But I'm going to fight you, my friend. I'm going to fight you. I
Let's
got to fight you here. I have to. I've been on this one all week. So here's the beef, and here's where I think that you are completely correct. Oklahoma State's offense is obviously based around Ollie Gordon, who is the standout running back that suddenly miraculously appeared on Gundy's roster out of nowhere, seemingly.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, he's ripping off these 200-yard games. I mean, this guy has had an unbelievable season, 1,579 yards on the ground, and he had points there where he was injured. But this Texas defense, man, they know how to stop the rush. They don't they don't average giving up more than 100 yards per game on the ground. It's going to be tough sledding. That Texas defensive line has been one that I've loved all year. I think it's the best unit on that football team. So I think you're right. They're going to be able to slow Oklahoma State down. But I've got a little more faith in Mr. Bowman than you do. And here's the thing. Mr. Bowman, 2,808 yards for the year. Now, where Mr. Bowman will mess up is he will throw it into the other team.
Yeah.
These Texas Longhorn cornerbacks don't scare me. They don't scare me enough, and I know Mr. Bowman's not going to be scared. Mr. Transfer, Mr. Experience. Pass yards per game this year, Oklahoma State is ranked in the top 30 in the country. I don't like these corners, as I've said, for Texas. I think it's one of the weak points of this defense. I think that Bowman is going to be able to be potent enough to take some attention off of Ollie Gordon. I don't think Oklahoma State is so bad that Texas can just sell out on the run and expect to just win this ball game. So if I was going to make a play on the over under, I think I might make a play on the over on this one. And you know what? Actually, I am. I'm going to just because now I've talked myself into it, Mason. Now I've done talked myself into it. I'm going over 55, and I'm taking Oklahoma State plus 15. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big 12 championship. If Texas wins out, they're going to put themselves in a great situation, obviously, to be in that playoff conversation as they are right now. But Oklahoma State, Van Gundy has been given the Coach of the Year award, and a lot of people are kind of pissed off about that and said, "Oh, what about Sarkisian?" And I think Sarkisian's got a big speed bump ahead of him this weekend. I think Texas will win the game. I don't think Texas is losing the game, but I do think that Oklahoma State can keep this thing close, especially the conference championship game.
Hey, just to remind you, Mark, on our fight last week, I did win that one.
Yeah, well, my black eye is cleared up, and I'm ready for another because I'm a crazy mother.
It's not too late to turn around, man.
This coffee's got me jacked up, brother. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
All
got
right.
me some honey in there. You hear that in my voice?
Yeah, it's soothing.
We'll see how good the voice is when I get down here to the Big Ten game. We'll see if I can do the Gus Johnson.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. Saturday, 4:00 on CBS. It's the big eye in the sky. It's the SEC championship, man. And this game has kind of turned into its own rivalry in the SEC, hasn't it? It's the Georgia Bulldogs and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Georgia's favored by 6 at this point. The over-under is set at 55. This is probably this has got to be the largest line in this game that we've seen, unless Georgia wasn't favored. I mean, years ago, I haven't seen a line this big in this game in recent years. So what are your thoughts on this one? Are Kirby and the Dogs going to be able to keep it going, or do the Crimson Tide have a good plan to trip the Dogs up this weekend?
I kind of think this is the championship game of the year in a lot of ways. I think that Alabama's a bad matchup for every other team that's in the hunt right now, and I think that Georgia's a bad matchup for every other team that's in the hunt right now. Two teams that are playing really good football. Alabama has been coming on as of late, and they're playing some of their best ball, but neither team has faced a team like themselves in a way, right? That these Georgia and Alabama are designed to beat each other. Like that's what they are. I still give the edge to Georgia. I think that they have been more consistent throughout the year. I think that on offense, they've been able to sustain drives throughout the year. And they're much more effective on third down. I think that Georgia wins the game. And for me, I think that the best, like, if this game ends in a blowout or let's just say by 2 scores, I think that everybody's saying that Georgia's the team that won, right? If that's the outcome,
Yeah.
I think that Georgia wins that game. So why not go for them in a 1 touchdown game? I think the line is at 5.5 right now. I'm gonna take Georgia and the points, and also, historically the over hits in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
In Alabama's season, the over has hit 9 times. So I'm taking the over 54.5 in this game as well. I'm not going to overthink it. I see Alabama being able to get a few big plays over the top. Maybe one on the ground. I'm hearing that McClellan's going to be out in this game on the ground, but they've got guys in the stable. Their running game is not going to be affected by McClellan being out. But I expect, again, Georgia to be consistent on third down with their drives. I don't think that Alabama is going to be able to stop Georgia from scoring on, more than 50% of their drives or anything like that. So I think Georgia's going to be able to put up some points. I'm not super comfortable with the 5.5. I got this at -4, but I do like the over a lot, and I think that Georgia's the right side of this one.
Well, I'm totally with you on this. I agree to pretty much all of those sentiments. But the over situation, I mean, look, 35-28. If Georgia wins 35-28, that's 63 points. So, I mean, let's think about that, right? I mean, that seems like a very possible outcome. And you talk about that number being at 5.5, which is what it is right now. You and I bet that number when it was lower.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's still under that touchdown mark, and it's still under a 2 field goal mark.
Yeah.
So I still think that there's value there with that 5.5, and there's more possible outcomes of hitting that than hitting the other one. I think, well, with Alabama, say Alabama blowing Georgia out, I just don't see that. Alabama hasn't been a team that's really blown a whole lot of people out this year. Excuse me, outside of the little teams. So I'm with you. I'm on the over 54.5. I feel good about that. And then I got Georgia a couple weeks ago at -4. Like we said, that line has crept to 5.5. I think there's still some value there. I think both teams are going to have success running the football in this game. I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think it's going to look like an SEC championship game. I think that's kind of why the line is set at 54.5. But these aren't the dominant defenses that we've seen in the past few years, and I wouldn't say that Alabama's offense is dominant necessarily, but what they want to do is what has given Georgia trouble, and that's running on the edges. And I think they're going to do a whole lot of that this coming up weekend. And I look to see the quarterback running the football like his life depends on it, because their postseason life does depend on it. So going to be a tough game for Georgia. Georgia's, to kill this snake, you have to cut the head right off. You
Mm-hmm.
can't mangle this thing. You can't run it over. You can't do none of that. You got to pick it up and cut the head off of this thing if you're going to beat the Alabama Crimson Tide in a championship game.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've seen Georgia match up with Bama since the national championship game in 21. So it will be very interesting to see if Georgia can keep their dominance alive. Obviously been a very, very crazy couple of years for Dogs. Can't wait to see that one there in Atlanta. Let's move on. If anybody's got any questions or comments, or you want to, say something about one of these games, we hope that you'll put it in the comment section, whether you're watching this live right now or later. If you're subscribed, thank you so much for doing so. Many of you have done so lately. Our view counts are through the roof. We're about to hit 100,000 views on the channel, and we're trying to get to 500 subs. We're around 400. We need 500. Y'all help us out. It's free. It doesn't cost you a darn thing. We're just a couple of college football nuts, just like you, who happen to download some YouTube apps and things like that, and want to talk about it in front of people. So we appreciate you tuning in. We couldn't do it without y'all. Let's talk about the Big Ten championship. Let's do it quickly because nobody gives a damn, frankly. But I think for betting purposes, guys, I think there's something here. I do. Let's let's kind of dive into it. Do you have a play on this game, Mason?
I do give a damn in this game because I've got 4 plays in it. So I'm trying to straight up call this game like to a T. All right. That's pretty much what I'm doing here. I'm dissecting it and I'm just going to hit this one out of the park. So here's my breakdown of this game. All right. So my first play is Iowa team total under 6.5. Right. I don't think Iowa
For the
scores
game?
for the entire game. I don't think Iowa scores this week. Okay. I'm also going to take Iowa first half team total under 2.5. Again, Iowa doesn't
I'm going to
score
give
this
you the
week.
floor on this. My God.
Iowa doesn't score this week, right? So first half under 2.5 team total for Iowa. I'm going to take the same game naturally under 35. Reason being, Iowa doesn't score this week, and Michigan scores under 30. Okay, Iowa does have a good defense, and then I'm going to take Michigan in the points. I'm going to lay all 22 points here. I think that I think Michigan get to 23 easily, and if Iowa isn't scoring, like I'm saying, they're not going to score, then that's a cover for me. So I'm going to keep it pretty simple here. I think that Michigan dominates in this one. I don't think Iowa's going to be able to do anything in this game at all. And again, I think they're going to put up a big old goose egg. So those are my 4 plays in this game. I'll be watching this one with sweaty hands.
Yeah. Well, so is this thing at 35 now instead of 35 and a half?
That's what I got it at least just a few minutes ago.
Okay. All right. I'll take the under 35.
I'm sure you could find a 35.5, but we're lazy and we go to one betting site. So
Yeah. I'm going to go under 35, and I could see maybe Michigan hitting a couple field goals, and maybe it trims that down, to 34. 35 is a round number, obviously, with 7 points being the, denominator there. I like this Michigan team, and I'm going to tell you why. They're built from the inside out. This team is built and meant to mimic a Georgia team of old, really. One that Kirby Smart, a formula that he just used to win a couple national championships. Michigan fans will jump all over your ass if you talk about J.J. McCarthy. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, J.J. McCarthy is a game manager quarterback, and there ain't nothing in the world wrong with that because it fits this system perfectly. All they need this guy to do is just not screw it up. That's all they're asking him to do, and distribute the ball around when necessary. Got I think a really good target in Roman Wilson. A really good run game, and they're going to lean on it in this game. This is going to be a low-scoring affair. Michigan, they've told us time and time again, if we don't have to throw it, we're not going to throw it. Yeah. And I think they're going to keep it on the ground. There's no sense in throwing it now and putting anything on film. All they've got is the Hawkeyes in their way, and they get to go to the playoff. So I think the under 35 is the play. I could totally see Michigan winning this thing 28-0. I heard that the first quarter – and this is one that I want to bet on. I heard the first quarter over under for Iowa is 0.5 points. And I'm going to take Iowa in the first quarter under 0.5 points.
That's disgusting.
That is absolutely disgusting and brutal. But your boys got to take it. Let's take a look at some comments real quick since we're live here. Mr. Upchurch, couldn't be more right. Big Ten sucks. Yeah, well, I tell you what, I wonder because I really do wonder about the Big Ten. I mean, they all are kind of insulated out there. They all waited till the end of the year to play each other. And really, that's the only hard games that they've had is one another. So I do wonder about them. I thought Ohio State was a little more battle-tested, but they got Honda McCord, running the offense out there. And it's just not what it was, obviously, with what they're used to. So I think they are down a little bit, man. I mean, I do. I do. I think Michigan's a great, solid football team. I really do. But they got a certain style, man. They got a certain style. Thank you so much for tuning in. Georgia Dogs 47. That's Eric over. I found it at 34.5 the other day. I am calling best bet for the over. That's Eric over right there.
Hey,
and
maybe
he's calling.
Maybe we middle on this
over.
one. Maybe we middle at 35, and we're all good.
Damn, Eric, why you do that to me, man, after I come out here and publicly put that thing out there? Golly.
Eric
Well,
does
let's
not
keep it
miss.
going. Not everybody agrees with my takes. Go figure. I've never dealt with that before. Saturday, 8 o'clock on ABC. It's the Cards versus the Knowles, baby. This one has been talked about and talked about and talked about, man, till everybody's blue in the face. These Florida State fans are everywhere, and I'm happy for them. This is a good moment for the Florida State fan base. I am very, very happy for them. I think this is obviously a moment where they can punch their ticket to the college football playoff, something that they haven't been to in about 10 years. So I think that that's a really, really awesome situation for them. On the other hand of that, you got the Louisville Cardinals. They're just coming off a very disappointing loss to Kentucky. I mean, if you're going to lose, if they could have picked one loss on that schedule, they would have picked anybody but Kentucky probably. But you
Yeah.
know what? That's the way it fell, and 3 turnovers in that game, I think was the undoing of the Louisville Cardinals in that football game. Mason, do you have a pick on the Louisville and Florida State Seminoles?
I do. So I picked this game earlier, like 2 weeks ago, and I got Louisville at +6, and I felt good about that. That was before Travis went out, and I felt pretty good about Louisville covering the +6. Now we know Jordan Travis is out, season-ending injury. Rodemaker last week, I thought that he held the ball a little bit too much, and we've seen from Louisville Cardinal a propensity to rush the quarterback. That's what they're like fit to do. They rush the quarterback. And another thing that doesn't go in the Knowles' favor is that they are very good against the run. So if you have a quarterback that's not playing well, right, the best backup is to run the football. Well, Louisville's taking that away too, right? So that's kind of how I see this game going. I'm thinking that Louisville will be able to score. I think it's going to be a close game, but I feel like Louisville might be able to pull this one out and win it outright. Give me the Louisville +2.5. I think that this is going to be a really close game. And honestly, by the end of championship weekend, I think that you're going to look at this game and say, man, that was the best game I watched all weekend. I think it's going to be that kind of a battle in the ACC.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm gonna stick with the Louisville Cards too. Here's the deal. I was on this game just like you a few weeks ago before, Travis was hurt. Why would I not be on it now?
Right.
This Florida State run game has been inconsistent, and Trey Benson, I don't know this to be a fact, but I mean, it wouldn't be a far stretch to say that he's banged up. He had a little bit of an injury last week, and I don't think it got talked about a whole lot. But this has already been a Florida State team whose run game was a bit sputtery. And last week when I saw Rodemaker come in, I thought that I was going to be seeing more of the QB run, the QB option type stuff in this offense, and we didn't really see it. Now Trey Benson had a great game, and that's great, but this offense, the run game and the 50-50 ball are the two things that they kind of work each other off of. And if one of them's not working, this offense tends to sputter. I think that Louisville is going to be able to stop the run in this game. I think that they're a pretty good run stopping crew on that defense anyway. And as I've said before, Louisville, when they lose the football games this year, it's been because they've turned the ball over. They've lost the football game. They haven't played a great game and not turned the ball over and not won this year. That hasn't happened. And I think that Brom is going to have these guys ready to go. Brom has done a fantastic job at his alma mater there at Louisville and has got these guys really focused. And as I said last week, was an absolute dagger, but I think it was a perfect time to get these guys' attention right before an ACC championship game, as Louisville wasn't going to go to the playoff anyway. So I don't think it really necessarily affected anything other than in that great state of Kentucky where you've got to hear from Big Blue Nation all year again. And I'm sure that's upsetting, but you can shut everybody up by winning a conference championship right here. And I think Louisville is going to be able to do that in this game. So give me Louisville +2.5. I've actually already taken this on the money line as well. So it just better money there. So I would check your odds. Probably can get some plus money on the money line right now if you hurry on up and get over to the betting window And that's what this show's all about, giving you the best bets and when to get to the window, and that's one I would go get in on right now if you're into that type of thing. Let's jump into our last game. Friday, 8 o'clock on ABC. It's the Pac-12. It's Oregon versus Washington. Oregon's a 9-point favorite. 66.5 is the point total on this thing. Do you have a play on the much discussed and I think both of these fan bases are just nervous as all get out about this one, man. This is a big one for both teams. You wouldn't figure this would be almost a double-digit point spread. I believe it's actually at 9.5 at this point. What's your thoughts on this game and what plays you got? Hey, Mason, you're muted. You start over.
Oh, sorry about that, y'all. Had a little cough attack there earlier. So I do think that, yeah, you're welcome. I think that the Oregon fans are actually a bit bullish on this game based on the comments that we've seen coming through. Some are worried a little bit naturally. This is, or at least has been a pretty good Washington passing attack, but Oregon this year against the spread is 8-2. They've been dominating teams down the stretch here recently, and they really look like a top 4 team in the country. And if they can limit the deep ball, I think that they cover this pretty easily. So I've got Oregon at -9.5. And then when you look at Washington, it seems like they may be peaked in their first matchup against Oregon. That was kind of their best game, and they were playing really good football up until that point. Everybody was saying this is a top 5 team in the country. But since then, we've seen a lot of drop off from Penix. I think that their offense as a whole looks sluggish. You've seen them depend more on the run than they have in the past or in the earlier games this year. So that's why I'm taking the under in this game. I think that Oregon can put up somewhere in the mid 30s. But we have seen them recently put together some methodical, long 8-minute drives that make me wonder if they limit Washington's possessions by playing that way. And then couple that with the fact that, Penix's inaccuracy has forced Washington to run the ball more. So you're going to see fewer possessions in this game potentially. So I like the under 66. I think that number is just a little bit too high. So 2 plays for me on this one. Well, 2-for-1 special.
All right. Double scoop. I'm with you on the total, man. I think that this is going to turn into more of a situation where Oregon's going to be happy to run the football. That Washington secondary, I mean, while it has, been a little bit suspect at times, they are kind of some ball hawks. And you got to be careful, especially number 1, Muhammad. He is a rare specimen at cornerback in the college football world. I really, really like this guy, kind of a leader on the defense. And the numbers don't really flash on paper for Washington. If you look at this thing on paper, I mean, you'd be hard pressed not to take Oregon in this thing, and you would have a hard time believing that Washington won this game just a few weeks ago, as the trajectories of these two teams have changed. But with all that being said, the more and more I've thought about this game and the way I think that this thing is going to go, I'm going to take Washington plus 9.5. I think that they're able to keep this thing within a touchdown. Oregon, when they've played good teams, they haven't, they've beat the ever living hell out of the cupcake teams, and beat a lot of point totals that way, and that's great. Good teams beat the spread, and I get that. But in their best games, their hardest games of the year, they lost one of them, and they haven't covered spreads in others. So I'm going to take the Washington Huskies. I think that matchup with these wide receivers versus that secondary, it's going to be impossible. It's going to be impossible for these wide receivers to not hit some big plays. They're good for a few a game at least. I'm interested to see how Washington is able to run the football. I think that's going to dictate this game. Whoever can run the football, and Washington just needs to run it well enough to open up the pass, and that's what they're going to try to do with Dylan Johnson. But I think for Oregon to disrupt everything, you would have to get to Michael Penix, and I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're getting to Michael Penix a bunch of times in this game. That offensive line has done a great job protecting him. They're great in pass pro, just about as good as Oregon is. So it's going to be an interesting football game. I'm going to take Washington. I'm going to jump on the other side of this thing. I think that's a big point total. And not to mention something that we didn't mention in our big game breakdown, Mason, kicking field goals has been a big time struggle for Oregon here at the end of the year. Ever since that Washington game, their kicker missed that game winning field goal, and he's missed a field goal in just about every game since then. So I think we're going to see more of the same. I think you're going to see Dan Lanning wanting to go for it on fourth down again. And look, we've talked about this. Joel Klatt was talking about on his show. He had a sit down with Dan Lanning and the offensive coordinator. Dan doesn't think it was his fault, those calls, Mason. He doesn't think those were bad calls. The offensive play caller took the blame for it, said he put the wrong play in. It was his fault. They're not going to stop going for it on fourth down. They don't trust this kicker. I think it's going to cost them some points in this game. So give me the under. I think the under is going to hit. I think people are going to be running the football. And give me Washington plus the points. I think they can hang in there. And I think a field goal kicker might be the difference in hitting the spread or not. So give me the Washington Huskies. I'm riding that train one more time, maybe. Maybe they win, and then I ride it again. But for right now, one more time, I'm riding that train. Guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. We sure do appreciate having you here at the First and Long College Football Show. The numbers are just
real
bumping.
Quick, Mark. I got a few more plays outside of those games.
What you got?
All right, so I'm taking SMU at plus 2.5 against Tulane. If you look at the numbers, SMU is statistically better in all categories. Tulane just seems like the more popular team to me. That Tulane does stop the run really well, but SMU wants to run the ball anyway. So I like SMU as the underdog. I like them on the money line as well in this game. I'm taking Army Navy under 28 just as a principal game. Like as a principal play, it's a Service Academy under.
The whole line is 28.
The total is 28.
Total is 28. Oh
28. I'm taking the under still. That's just a principal play for me. And then I'm also taking our Toledo Rockets at -8. If y'all didn't know, we're a Toledo show. So if you didn't know, now you know. Toledo -8 over Miami of Ohio. Last time the Rockets won this one on the road by 4. This one's at home for the championship game. I think it's a ruckus environment. Toledo's 4-1 in the last 5 games against the spread. And I think Toledo's been great on defense and is playing good enough on offense, but does have a great run game. And Miami, their defense is good, but their offense is pretty bad. I think they have a hard time scoring in this one, and Toledo's going to be able to get it done and win the championship by at least 10 points.
Mason's sicko plays of the week.
There you go.
How about that? Thank you all. As I was trying to cut Mason off so he couldn't get those 13 picks in and get over 500. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This is our short little show of the week. Like I said, if you want to hear some more in-depth breakdown of those games, please do so by visiting our channel page there. You can go to playlist, look up CFB weekly game predictions. You can check out all of them. You can even go back in time and see how wrong we were on some and how right we were. We got one more comment here. Those plays help a lot with my Pick'em League. Thanks, Mason. Hey, there we go.
Yes, sir. Any other games you need us to break down for you, Chris, before we hop off? Just put it in the comments.
All you guys, thank you so much, folks who have tuned in, and we're very responsive in the comment section. So if you're watching this later, you missed it live, that's okay. You can definitely check this out later and shoot us a comment. We always reply to comments in the comment section the best we can until they get out of hand. So if you hurry up and do it, you can probably get through to us. Once they start getting crazy, then it's hard for us to keep up with the conversations that are even going on. But we're going to get out of here. We're going to let you guys go enjoy your college football weekend. Don't forget the Pac-12 championship is tomorrow. It's not Saturday. Okay, everybody, it's on Friday night. We got some great content coming for you guys next week. All that's left is to play the games. We're going to know a lot more about who's going to the playoff next week. I hope that you'll tune in and come talk about it with us. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and everybody have a great evening.